Okay, thank you, Ms. Moni Law, so much for coming.
Can we have a hand of applause for Miss Christina Murphy? That's a real sister right there.
That's a real sister.
So when she said, Miss Moni, can you come and speak for a few minutes on housing? I said, okay. And it's been a hard week. Who had trouble through taxes and stress of that this week? Power to the people who trying to make it happen and make it together, and your house is a mess because you pulled the house apart. Who here is suffering from the grief of loss from the young man who I saw in the street? And it's hard for me to be here today, but I can't imagine the pain of his mother, his family, his friends from Berkeley High School when he jumped off the top of the Center Street garage during my lunch hour at work. So many of us, as we walked outside, we see the young man in the street, and that visual cannot go away. I can get therapy through, and I'm a big proponent of therapy, and I also wrote to the council that we don't have enough services in our city.
Yes.
So I'm gonna touch on housing in a second. What does a person do when the Cal student calls me and they're suicidal? I'm known as Mama Moni at UC Berkeley. Go Cal, go Bears, class of 1982. There are more students that commit suicide at UC Berkeley that are reported. There are more people in the city who attempt suicide than are reported. They're known as 1056s. If you know anyone who needs help, please write or call me, because I'm trying to get a crisis hotline. As Paul Blake over here, K. Aloha Blake, is a 24/7 crisis unit of his own, going around encampment to encampment, person to person. He stopped a person from committing suicide who was about to cut himself in the neck in a public street on a broad daylight. Where are our services for that? Who do we call? They call me late at night, and I said, call anytime, show up anytime. Because that pain is deep and it's lasting, and that includes the survivors of gun violence in Berkeley. The mother of the young man who was killed a few years ago in I think it was his auntie's front yard or grandmother's yard, has received no counseling, no offer of grief counseling, and that should be a steady, available service in the city of Berkeley. So if you all could write to your council member, and even if you don't work, or live here, please write City of Council of Berkeley. We need crisis mental health counseling 24/7.
Yes, yes.
The other thing we need, who here lives in Berkeley presently? Hello, Councilmember Ben Bartlett. I see you.
Hey, Ben
Say
Bartlett.
hey to Ben Bartlett over there, y'all, and thank him for his work for the city. His family's lived here a couple of generations. Who here now lives in Berkeley? Who here used to live in Berkeley and now doesn't live in Berkeley? Quite a few people. Quite a few people. Oh, and let's hear for the band.
Oh, yes.
Some very talented musicians over here. You know that music heals?
Yes.
There's studies that show that. So we get our healing from that. You know the sun heals, vitamin D therapy, we get healing from that. So for the housing situation, let me tell y'all something you probably already know.
Hey, can I please get a moment of silence
Are we having a moment of silence? Or
so I can hear you?
Oh, bless her.
All right, I gotta say this. The first lady talking right now. She look. I'm sorry, you look just like Michelle.
I used to do look-alike work for Michelle Obama, so when somebody stops and says you look like the first lady, I know what you're talking about. When I had my weave and I had my makeup and my pearls, I did some events throughout the country, including in D.C. Yeah, we're cousins. She and I were both born in Alabama. So here's what happened in Berkeley. Right where we stand, everyone. Christina just wants perfect silence.
I need to hear you. I ain't promised tomorrow.
Okay.
Christina, cut it up. Cut it up. Cut up the microphone.
I don't know the system. I'm not going to touch a musician's speaker. Okay, can you hear me now? I think it's echoing, but y'all can hear me. So South Berkeley used to be in Wikipedia as the largest black community in the country. Y'all know that? But says Chris, who showed up and said, where all the black people go? Okay, this is a woke white person who wanted to move somewhere. There were a lot of black people. When she moved here, she was like, what happened? What happened was, y'all, gentrification.
Yes.
And it's happening more now, and we could do something about it. You know what Atlanta did? Have you heard of buy the block. Black people with money and others who were allies bought the block, purchased the buildings. I want to shout out to Mari over there, raise your hand. Mendoza is a rent board housing commissioner, but also an advocate in her private time. I'm here speaking in my private personal capacity, as is she. But she's working with some people who are working on the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. Who here has heard of TOPA?
Yeah.
Y'all who haven't, guess what you can do? If you're a tenant in a building, which there are all too many who are being evicted because of owner move-in evictions and Ellis Act evictions, once the moratorium lifts, a lot of people are gonna get evicted and be more homeless. Instead, how does it look if you're a tenant and you get to put it together with the help of a land trust and get some money and buy the building?
TOPA.
They've done TOPA, okay, TOPA right here.
Come on,
To my left is